What if I was to tell you that another dimension exists, right in front of your eyes, this very moment? One the entire human race appears blind to. One which contains love and completion and understanding and great accessibility to immense intelligence. You might be excused for thinking I had gone completely insane, but don't write me off too quickly. Have a listen for a short time first. You must be aware that the human brain is constantly occupied. It thinks from morning to night, and through each and every night. The brain never rests, is never still, is never silent, never quiet. Its own movements are what generates this constant never-ending occupation. The human brain reflects on past events, centred upon a psychological image derived from an identification with the given birth name. This is the inner thinker of thoughts, a concept within a land of concepts. This is our human inheritance, passed ever down in a traditional approach to life, educated into us all from very young years. We think about what we know. Our thinking is memory. You cannot think in an unfamiliar language because you have not memorized the unfamiliar language. Our thinking is movement and knowledge stored in brain cells from past experiences. The future we concern ourselves with greatly is a conceptual projection in time, a continuity and growth or limitation to what came before. And at the centre of it all is a psychologically recorded self. Me, myself, I. The human ego, a ghost in the machine. This is a dead area of life, never truly changing, never ending, an accumulation and continuity, modifying its inner world continuously, and acting on the outer world, the world of this universe. Thought to the universe, and the universe to thought. The past to the present, and the present to the past. The brain, the human educated brain, rooted to living in memory, thanks in most part to a truly pathetic limiting conditioned approach to life, trained to live within psychological recordings, is a creator of an inward prison cell of conceptual design. We live predominantly within a psychological construct created by a human brain, centred on limited past experiences, inner and outer. This is how our race has evolved psychologically in perpetual conflict, thanks to the fact that our inner memories naturally all differ based on our past limited experiences. And so, our concerns and attachments, our identifications and beliefs, all differ. Our thinking is different in content, based on these differing past life experiences we have all had. But the structure of the mechanism of thought which holds our thinking together is identical for each one of us. We live within an inner pendulum of desire and fear, and the two movements are intimately related, two sides of the same coin, both time-based. If I desire in my life, then I introduce fear to my life. I come to fear that I may not receive that which I desire. And if I do, I come to fear I may lose it. This is all facilitated by a keen sense of conceptual time we have all been educated to live within. Desire and fear both require a psychological future. A future is needed to desire into, and fear arises from the absolute unknowable quality of the future. We live conceptually, And our life is a movement of psychological suffering and hope, desire and fear. Is this it? Is this what life had planned for mankind? A life of confusion, a life of suffering, a life of no solid ground to stand on by virtue of always seeking to become something into a conceptual future. A life of conflict, a life of repetitive pleasures, and pleasures ever accompanying bedfellow pain. We all know psychological pain. Not many of us are probably aware that a mind caught in psychological pain has lost its capacity for love. The same is true with psychological desire and fear and past and future and concept of self. The movements of the inner natures of our psychological minds denies love to our lives. Stop and consider that for a moment. Love is not to be found within the human mind. Take a look and see. Verify this for yourself. Truth has no effect on my life if I merely accept words pointing to it from another. If I question to the point of my own understanding, then truth becomes transformative to my life. A truth, when seen, changes what you are. And you need not do a single thing. In fact, anything you do to try to change is counterproductive. Do you see why? Because change means what came before has now ended. A new quality has now filled the void vacated by the old one. If I make one single move towards any change, I am in a process of continuity of that very thing I seek to change. And so change can never happen. Change in your life, a true psychological revolution, may be possible. But the change leading such a transformation must come unexpectedly, unasked for. Seeing is the true precursive activity to all change, never thinking. For thinking is repetition of memory, and memory is the past, which is the old, and so ever stagnant, a recording in the memory-based brain cells, which is what all thinking is. And this is incapable of bringing change to itself. It can only add or subtract from itself, but it cannot end itself. And the ending of itself, the ending of the learned pattern of the old, of memory, is what is needed to meet the new creative quality of this present living moment. This universe is timeless. It has no seconds, minutes, hours, days, weeks, months, or years. It is not counting. It is not achieving. It is not running away from anything. It has no desires and so no fears. It gathers nothing to itself, and so it possesses nothing, and so fears no loss. It is complete right now, right this instant. It has no future to become more complete within. It is impossible for there to be anything more complete than creation. And creation is what is taking place in front of all of our eyes in this living moment of this very universe we are all standing within. Divided from each other, divided from it all, from all the beauty, from all the love, from all the life and death and mystery and wonder. Because our brains have been programmed continuously to live within their own self-interested, self-created world of conceptual time, from past recorded memories to future state of projected greater completion. Our brains are the movement responsible for every thought, every attachment, every ideology, every continuity, every pleasure, every pain, every desire, every longing, every fear, every neurotic action. Our brains are responsible for the inner division of the seemingly divided energies of thinker and thought. In truth, this is one inner movement. Artificially divided by tradition and education, cleaving itself into two to conform to an absurd pattern, an artificial approach to life, the birth and continuity of an inner conceptual self, an image, an ego, from which the brain derives security living within and as. We live our lives caught in a misery-creating illusion, and as we do so, we stand in the most magnificent and wondrous of all movements, the movement of this universe, in creation, in life and death. Death has become a torment to us because we live in conceptual continuity within our own inner created world of time and attachments, of becoming, of identification, of achieving, of success. The movements of our corrupt and broken societies are also to be found inwardly, within the brain cells of each of us, corrupted by this society. Are you seeking to become something in life? Are you attached? Do you fear death or loss? Do you carry inward psychological pain or fears? I need not ask these questions because I have yet to meet one free man, free from such continuous inner constraints, bound tightly inwardly, by continual progressive movements of thought, centred around an ideological concept of a me. We are all held in psychological bondage, which paints conflicting pictures of the actual world around us, which distorts the true universe we never come to see. We live and die blind to truth, and as we die, and we die as we live, in fear. If we fear death, we must fear life, for death is a huge part of life, not the end of it. There is never an end for a mind which does not seek its security in continuity. Such a mind is essentially non-accumulative, and so as it lives, it dies, and life is forever young. Only a mind which insists on becoming something through conceptual time lives in an inward state of continuity, and so comes to suffer, age, and taste the bitter taste of a death, which is only truly the ending of a continuity. Would you like to live differently than this? Would you like to die differently than this? Who would not? Our lives are a constant inner sufferance, and the cause of the sufferance is the thinking mind of mankind. It is, in truth, what will come to end our race, unless we can come to transform a monstrously inaccurate way we have been educated to approach our lives, through mechanical, automatic, unquestioned, and non-understood movements of thoughts and inner emotions. This inner movement tears us to pieces inwardly, and tears our world to pieces outwardly. And yet we need not live this way. But to seek an inward change is to engage in a movement of desire and continuity, which is the very thing which removed us all from the Garden of Eden. And this is the Garden of Eden we are discussing here. It was eating the fruit of knowledge, which divorced us from the bliss of living in truth. I am certainly no Christian, but I see the relevance of this story to our suffering ongoing lives. We are divorced from true life, from the real moment-by-moment movements of this universe. We have lost connection with the living movement of the nature of this universe. We live predominantly in a conceptual inner mirrored version, with a conceptual me in the middle of this conceptual world, planning the continuity of my ongoing conceptual existence. This is the inner movement behind this world great proposed reset. It is a corruption to our lives, in the form of Davos, or in the form of your own personal little conceptual self and inner psychological world the brain engages in from moment to moment in continuous chatter. This is a movement of achieving in time. And in truth, there is no time in this universe. No one may utter a single word which makes any sense about true life. It is all around you this second, but look as you may, struggle as you might, the beauty you shall not come to see. The love of this universe shall not penetrate your heart 1 inch. To truly see, to truly live in such heaven, one's brain must become whole in action, not divided among many images, among thinker and thoughts. A whole brain is a brain not in movement, for movement divides as it creates a watcher and a watched, a thinker and a thought. Both are actually the same nature, though it takes careful awareness of oneself to see this fact. Seeing in completion demands absolute silence. You cannot be looking at anything and occupied within and be seeing it well, for your attention is now divided. The word whole, which is the awareness of a brain in complete silence, without any inward divisions, one organism, undivided, has relationship to the word holy. A brain which can see life in silence is a whole brain, and a whole brain is a holy brain. Only a silent brain, viewing this universe in the innocence of holding no past and seeking no future, senses completely alive and awakened to this present moment of creation, can come to understand the absolute beauty of life and death and the wisdom of space and silence. A brain which is silent has space, and peace comes to such a mind, a peace which passes all understanding. And your life is changed. Thought can find its own place. It has a place, and that place is memory. It is engaged in talking with a friend when required to, in driving a car, in playing a guitar, singing a song, or remembering how to do your job well or where you live. Thought has no place at all in building a sense of conceptual inward self and of using this inward self to compete against all others into an imaginary future, while destroying everything ever sacred to life, replacing the natural with the artificial, replacing man with machines, replacing wealth for paper and tax havens, replacing relationship for dictatorship, replacing natural order with constructed disorder, preferring a life of following thought, the past, to allowing the beauty of the present moment to infiltrate life, to be the guide to life understanding, living on an inward state of love, peace, silence, and complete awareness of this moment of creation. Preferring the continuity of inward self, and so the noise of constant inward chatter and outward battle, to a life of harmony, relationship, empathy, care, and love. Look at what we have become. And then ask the question, quickly, how can I change? Can I bring about an inward revolution in what I am? Can I die to how I have been consistently living? to once again meet life as a child, meet this universe in complete innocence, without the constant chattering of inward, educated, computer-like programmed sense of self. To be nothing, to be going nowhere, without a care in the world. To have no need to be anything. To understand that life was ever a gift, and to receive that gift willingly and gladly, without guilt, and certainly without seeking to change a single thing. For who or what can perfect upon creation? Is it because we have no eyes to see creation that we destroy creation and ourselves in the process? You want to see the new in life? Do you thirst a real change that may impact all this inner and outer decay? Here's how you do it. You must come to understand the inner processes of thinking. This must become your life passion. No pussyfooting around here. If you cannot commit, this road is not for you. Dedicated only, or no need apply. If you are dedicated, then let's continue to investigate together. Always question, never accept a single word. It is only when you see that your life changes, and you cannot see through the words or the eyes of any other. You need to awaken to your own inward intelligence. And you can only do this now, not in a conceptual future. The future will only continue your current state of sleep. We can never aim to free ourselves. Never aim to change a thing. Our minds are confused, and every action a confused mind takes leads only to greater confusion. The same for other emotional inward states. The mind itself must come to stop, so every and any action, positive or negative, is counterproductive. This is a negating approach, a negative approach. You cannot aim towards this positively in any way. All you can do is be aware of the constantly changing inner emotions, fears, pleasures, thoughts, all of it, choicelessly. Perhaps unwisely, I'm going to give a little of the game away. I have already alluded to this several times. Watching thought can be arduous business, but remaining persistent leads to greater ability to complete this task, and one comes to have eyes which may gaze on one's inner psychological movements without choice. A person inevitably comes to see that the thinker and the thought are the same movement, because they are. And if a person looks, they will come to see the truth. There was never any inward division between thoughts, between thinker and thought, and so never any need for life's psychological ongoing difficulties. It is our inner problematic natures which has given birth to our outer problematic world, where the highest offering on the plate today appears to be a new kind of World Economic Forum global communism. This is what thought always seeks to do. It lives in the disorder of constant divisions, because thought is memory based on experiences, and we have all had differing experiences. We all value our own lives, our own attachments, but we care none too much for any other. Constantly living in such inward disorder, thought seeks the order of control, of dictatorship, ongoing certainty of the continuity of society's traditional time-grown organisations, governments, big businesses, royalty, politics, religions, the dominating time-bound voices in our world of authority inevitably seek to consolidate their versions of order, which is a disorder to the lives of so many others. Obviously so, an enforced order, a demand of any kind, is ever a disorder on the lives of otherwise free human beings. But it is not only the World Economic Forum playing with this world. It is you. It is all of us. Were we sane human beings, living freely now, not going anywhere, but responding to this moment where real life is found, the only life is found, the only place to act, and it is always now. This is where we arrive. We need not bloody our knees on the glass-encrusted cobblestones of time to seek for something better in a psychologically created conceptual future than this moment of creation anymore. And so our eyes can return to looking for nothing. Our minds can empty of self. Our hearts may unchain their locked-up emotions, and we need fear not 1 second more. We are children of this universe, and this universe is timeless. We live in educated time, conceptual in nature, ever in competition, ever seeking top place, ever seeking an authority to guide, as programmed as children are in every classroom, ever living in memory, which is thought, and this is the greatest folly of our lives. We do not choose to live this way. We are programmed, like computers. Man lives in competition, and we have already, all of us, been hacked, dumbed down. Thinking runs automatically like a machine, programmed, continuous even during the night, programmed, never shuts up, in divisions, thinker and thought, and so inward conflicts, always solving problems, just like in school, and so always looking for problems to solve, and so always living within psychological problems. How important is it to you to find real life and stop living as a washed-up piece of inner mechanical, psychological, repetitive junk? We need to study this inner ongoing mechanism of self. In its understanding lies the only true salvation for our race. Nothing less. This inner self is divisive, conflicting, problematic to human sanity. We are living as educated machines of continuity and accumulation. There is word in our society today of man and machine merging in the near future. Well, that may be the proposition of our elitists today, but what is greatly unrecognised is that elitists of previous centuries, including John D. Rockefeller, appear to have been successful in turning our brains into psychological machines. We lost our freedom a long time ago when we found our compulsory educated inner psychological worlds, and our inner conceptual, competitive, self-seeking, and therefore divisive and loveless inner egos. Our never-ending cry for success in this world is the biggest failure any of us could ever come to imagine. We grew in this universe out of this planet. It is our mother. We are this world. It is the background, the environment every life species is born within. It is us, for we could not live without it, and we are it. We are killing ourselves in our total lack of understanding of what we are, which comes from looking at life through limited knowledge, thinking. Our medicines and foods grow here as plants. We breathe the air. We produce vitamin D from sunlight. We drink the water. We heal from the plants here. And we feed from them also. We are part of one universal system, and that system is the universe itself. Yet we have to better it into a conceptual man-made future, when we could be living lives of absolute bliss this very day in complete order. And all we need do is to bring an end to this inner divisive, consistent, incessant chattering. What, if anything, of your life will you give to such a task? Do you see a necessity? Then you have a responsibility. And the future of the human race is in your hands. Like so many others, we were hurt financially by COVID. We are looking to hopefully get some small financial help to contribute to the possibility of continuing our work here. Making these films does take an immense amount of time, and certain repetitive financial commitments need be repetitively met. So if you like the work we are doing here and would like to support us to continue doing it, if you would like to become part of a team seeking real change in the lives of humanity, then if you can afford even a cup of coffee to help support our work, may I introduce you to our Patreon page. I thank anyone who takes the time to watch these films. You are the main backbone support to our work. And I thank anyone who is generous enough of heart and mind, and who has the means, of course, to help us in our attempts to continue doing so. These are difficult times for all of humanity, for all of us at least, not rich. We will do best through it all if we can come together and support each other. Best wishes to you all, and thanks above all for watching and listening. This is ever the most important activity any of us can bring to our lives.